Good evening, and greetings, horror fans. I'm Midnight Researcher, and I bid you special welcome to the third and final installment of Midnight Society VR, hosted exclusively, no, not exclusively, by HorrorCon VR. Faked ya. Tonight, we have even more participants in this Tales of Terror that we've got going for you tonight. 5 participants and 5 stories. I again will not be reading tonight. However, for starters, I would like to direct everyone's attention to a very special guest tonight that has made it through many trials and tribulations into VR chat for you all here today and you all on the stream. Creepy Clown Girl, I would like to instruct you to begin reading your own story. You may begin when you are ready.
Oh. I am Creepy Clown Girl and submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. This is my story, Club to Death. Once a year we get to dress up and pretend to be someone or something we're not. But strange things could and do happen when the sun goes down and the night comes about. You just never know what might be lurking within the shadows, waiting to strike. So if I were you, I wouldn't go anywhere alone, especially without a light. This is the story of one such Halloween when I decided to dress up as a sexy clown and with my friend go out on the town. I grabbed my keys and I excitedly hurried out the door while also forgetting my keys. While also forgetting my phone, my phone. It wasn't until later when a friend of mine asked me to use it that I realized I left it at home. Sorry? I say as I look up at my friend who now has an annoyed look on her face. She shrugs as we turn to head inside. That's when we get a weird feeling that something isn't right. Opening the door, we step inside, Opening the door, we step inside, letting our eyes adjust to the dim room, and we notice that the club is now empty. We turn to look at each other in We turn and look at each other in confusion. Now getting scared. My friend broke the silence by asking in a shaky tone, "Where is everyone?" "I don't know," I say as I turn and start to walk away to go see where everyone had gone. My friend says, "Hey, wait, you ain't leaving me here alone," she says, following after me. Slowly, we start making our way through the club, looking around for anyone, but still find no one. But the air still smelled of cheap perfume, alcohol, and still cigarette smoke. Making our way towards the back of the club, we were suddenly stopped by a noise that left us frozen in fear. We were looking towards the stage, and we could hear heavy breathing, and for a moment we thought we could see something moving. Suddenly my friend lets out a scream that echoed throughout the empty club, causing me to jump clean out of my skin. We both take off in different directions, now making it easier for that creature to corner us. Looking for a place to hide, I crawl under a table near the jukebox, shaking, scared, and now alone. I peeked my head out from the tablecloth to see if I could see anything. That's when I noticed my friend hiding under a table in the corner next to the bathroom. She saw me and started to mouth something, but before I could react, I heard a growl. Then out of the corner of my eye, that's when I saw it. A massive creature with short black hair, huge feet, long fangs, and a head like a wolf, but its body looked like a pig's. In shock, I fell backwards, grabbing my mouth, trying not to scream, while still trying to process what I think I just saw. I was quickly snapped out of it by the sound of glass breaking, table and chairs being thrown around the room, and then I heard my friend's blood-curdling scream. Looking out from under the tablecloth, I see the beast running towards her, and with one quick motion, he was on top of her, ripping her apart. The sickening sound that now echoed throughout the club made me throw up. Without thinking about it, I let out a scream that caused the beast to stop feasting on my friend and turn its attention to me. In horror, I watched as the beast, now with a blood-soaked face, turn and start running towards me. Again, without thinking, I ran out from under the table and start running towards the front door, hoping I can escape this nightmare. With the beast still behind me and fast approaching, I reached for the front door, swinging it open and run outside, the door slamming behind me. Outside, still shaking and scared, I collapsed to the ground and start crying. Stopping to wipe my eyes, I listened closely and realized that there are now sounds of laughter and music coming from inside the club. Confused and clumsy, I stood up and had to go back inside. Before going in, I paused a moment and think to myself, what the hell just happened? Opening the door, I step inside and I notice that everything is back to normal with the exception of one thing. My friend was still gone forever.
Now I believe that was the end of CCG's story. Thank you very much, CCG. We're going to move on now
Sorry.
to Filia Noctis.
Hi, I'm Filia Noctis, and you, my wonderful nyctophiliacs. I submit this story for the approval of the Midnight Society. Timothy Durand's May I Die This Time. I don't know how long I've been down here. Days, weeks, months, minutes? The amount of time doesn't matter. What matters is that I've been down here much longer than I should have, and I need to get out of here one way or another. The problem is that I only have one way out, and for some reason, I keep coming back. I can barely remember how I got here. Maybe I stumbled and fell down a hole. Maybe I was kidnapped and held down here. None of that matters either. All that matters is what I can remember. And all I remember is him. That sick monster and his evil eyes that he hides behind a disgusting mask. The mask is covered in old blood and is stained from a lot of use. He always comes in with his old rusted blade and a spoon to do horrible things to me. I wish I could find some hope of freedom. I just want to breathe a breath of fresh air and be free. Is that too much to ask? But freedom won't come in the form. Freedom for me will come in the form of my death rattle. For as long as I can remember, this man with the twisted spoon and the broken rabbit mask has always come down a long hallway in a dark, wet tunnel where I'm kept at the end of it. All I can see beyond my dirty hair and the blood he leaves on me is wet stone walls and a wooden door with an opening at the end of it he uses to see me through. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I can't seem to reach it. He has me chained to the wall at the end of this tunnel. No matter how much I tug or pull, all it ever did was tear into my flesh. Whoever this man was, it did not matter. What matters is that he would not let me leave. He would make his way into my narrow room quite often. I have no framework by which to tell how often he would come, but I could tell that it was a lot. Every time he would come in, he would always come in with some new way to torture me. I could tell that he enjoyed it. He has a but he always had a grin beneath that partially broken mask. I could see it just at the edge of the mask, the way the lines around his eyes would crease. He truly enjoyed what he would do to me and never ceased in finding new ways to have fun with me. The problem for me was that no matter how hard I tried, I could not seem to leave. Not even in my death could I find peace. It seems like every time I would have a visit for him and I saw him leave, I would regain a sense of energy after his departure. He was toying with me. But why? What could compel a man to do something like this to anyone is beyond me. But that answer seems as far away as an escape. No, escape is nothing more than a dream for me. Finding an escape from this nightmare full of terror and bloodshed would be a greater gift than anything else I could would compare than to not have to feel metal shackles wrapped around my ankles and wrists, or the knife as it ripped through my neck every time he would come to visit me. It seems as if my mind, my body, and my spirit are trapped down here. Not even death seems to serve as a means of escape. Every means by which you could imagine dispatching a person with, he's done it. Every possible way you could kill someone, he's done it to me. And no matter what he does, he makes sure to slit my throat and collect my blood in a dirty white cup that has been stained brown with blood. As my eyes would close, I would feel him rake his twisted spoon up against my neck to taste the remainder of what would not fit in his cup. He would put his mask back slightly and take a taste of my blood with his twisted spoon. The light from the single light bulb would always shine just enough for me to be able to see his smile and the black irises of his eyes, like the soulless eyes of a monster. Ats always held a somewhat distinguished demeanor. Somehow, behind that mask and his blood-stained apron and pants, I could tell that the walk and movement of a gentleman existed. Somehow, though, this man saw fit to keep me caged against a wall inside this dark room to keep me from my blood. And to what end would he use my blood? I would never know. All I know that my last hope of escape came when he came in with a large axe. This time I told him to take my head with him. My hope was that maybe if my head were to leave this room, maybe I would be able to leave in peace. This was before this spoon became twisted. He did as I asked and chopped off my head, collected the blood and tasted it with the spoon. I had a few brief seconds that were filled with searing pain and a sense of choking. I tried to breathe in, but there was no means from pouring out of me and from my brain to gain a second wind. I was slowly fading, but my eyes flittered with the hope as he carried my head out. However, he realized what my plan was of escape, and he turned to me with a sense of anger before his smile twisted. And all I heard before I felt his spoon plunge into my left eye were the words, "Nice try." And like that, I was back, chained at the end of the room, and left with no way out. Since that day, his spoon that he comes to sip my blood with has been twisted, much like his soul. He comes in frequently now, always coming in with the same attire and his knife to cut my neck open, the twisted spoon to taste my blood, and the mask so my look of fear or despair would not taint his grinning face. I have been left with no hope of escape and no way out. All I hope for is my death rattle to come. I long for nothing but my death and peace. Dear God, what have I done to deserve this? I can hear him coming. If mercy does exist, may I die this time. Thank you.
Hello. My name is CreepsSpaghett. And, I'm submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society Masterpiece by Anonymous. I have been lying down for hours now. It's 5:35 a.m. There's not much I can do. You know what the worst part about my situation is? I'm in the same room as my parents. They keep looking at me, and I can't help but look back and try not to cry or scream. Their eyes are focused on me, and their mouths are wide open. There's a strong sense of blood, and I feel paralyzed with fear. Here's the thing. The second I make any hint that I'm not asleep anymore, I'm completely fucked. I will die, and there's nobody around to save me. I've been trying to think of a way, but the only idea that I have is to rush to the front door and scream for help, hoping any neighbors would hear me. It's risky, but if I stay here, I'll surely die. He's waiting for me to wake up and see his masterpiece. You're probably wondering what's going on. I do tend to get ahead of myself sometimes. About 3 hours ago, I heard screaming from the other side of the house. I got up and went to check on the noise before realizing I had to use the restroom instead of doing the smart thing and investigating. I used the bathroom first, and I could have gotten myself killed right then and there for my stupid actions. I did my business and took a peek outside the bathroom. There was blood on the carpet. I got very worried and ran back to my room, hiding under the sheets like the pussy I was. I tried to convince myself to go back to sleep, like as if it was all just a vivid dream or nightmare or something. But I heard my bedroom door open. Like the terrified child I was, I peeked outside from the under of my blankets to see what was going on. I could see something dragging my dead parents into the bedroom. It was no human, I can tell you that. It was hairless, with no eyes or clothes. It walked like a caveman, with its back slogged as if dragging my parents. But this thing was much smarter than any caveman. It was aware of what it was doing. It propped my dad up on the edge of my bed and made him face me. It then sat my mother down in the chair and positioned her towards me as well. It then started rubbing its hands on the wall, staining them with blood, and drew a circle with the devil's pentagram in it. This thing had made something we would call it like a masterpiece. To finish it off, it scribbled a message into the wall that I could not see or read in the dark. It then positioned itself under my bed, waiting to strike. The scariest thing now is that my eyes have just adjusted to the darkness since then, and I can read the message on the wall. I don't want to look at it because it's terrifying to even think about it, but I feel the need to see it before I'm killed. I peeked at the creature's masterpiece. I know you're awake.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am PA Nightmares and submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, Joe and Pop's Coffee Shop, written and narrated by PA Nightmares. Joe sat on the couch, watching the commercial with his father. They had filmed the commercial using the remainder of their excess spending money. Finances had been tight. They needed to, they needed to try and drum up some extra business at the coffee shop. The TV played in the background. Come to Joe and Pop's Coffee Shop, where we do coffee right. All of our own blends are crafted on site. Your taste buds will not be disappointed. We will be starting our pumpkin spice blend tomorrow, and the first 500 customers get a 50% discount. See you then. Right after the commercial was over, the phone rang. It's Pop's vendor. He called with some bad news. Hey, Pops. Due to the pandemic, I can't get you the ingredients you will need for your home blend of pumpkin spice lattes. I'm sorry, man. But if you want, I can get you in touch with a friend. Yeah, a friend of mine. Who can get you what you need. So his vendor gave Pops the number and the name of his contact, and Pops called him immediately following the conversation. Hello? A gruff voice answered after a few rings. Who are you and how'd you get this number? Hi, Tyler. You can call me Pops. Mark told you I'd be calling? He said you can get me the ingredients I would need for my home blend of pumpkin spice. Pops finished, hoping on all hope that he was going to get the answer he wanted. Oh yeah, he did mention that. Yeah, I can get you what you need, for a price of course. He finished with a chuckle. Of course. How does 500 sound? I mean, I can't afford it much currently, but I can pay you more later down the road. Pops finished. He was worried that he was not going to be able to pay the man enough. You know what, Pops? Normally, I'd charge far more. But I like you. You sound like good people. I'll have your stuff by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Pops finished by thanking the man and hanging up the phone. Pops looked at his son and spoke. Well, Joe, it's time to head to bed. Hopefully we'll have a very busy day tomorrow. Joe got up and headed to his room, with Pops close behind. The next morning, Pops and Joe were at the coffee shop at 5 a.m., ready to get the coffee blended, brewed, and ready to serve before 9 a.m. rolled around, and the doors opened up. They got all the ingredients ready. He had cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, allspice, and yes, a very special ingredient that made Pop's pumpkin spice the best in the county. Many have asked him what it was, but he would never tell. Joe wasn't even privy to it just yet. By the time 9 a.m. rolled around, there was a line from the front door practically wrapping around the building. I guess the commercial did the trick, Pops thought to himself. The second the doors opened up, excited patrons flooded into the store. Pops had even thought of a clever name for the size of the drinks, just for fun. The customer walked up to the counter. Hey, Pops, can I get a baby spice latte for the missus and a king pumpkin for myself? The coffee flew off the shelves, and before he knew it, he had sold over 100 cups. And 2, and then 5. Everyone in the town must have shown up for his coffee. This brought a smile to Pop's face, until the first customer dropped to the ground, foaming at the mouth. Joe, being the kind soul he was, ran over to the patron and checked on him. Before Pops knew what was happening, more and more patrons dropped to the ground. The first one to fall had started to convulse. Pops was on the phone with 911 when he heard the scream. He looked over and saw the first man to fall, on top of Joe, biting his face. Blood was everywhere. Pops frantically shouted at the 911 operator that the patrons were attacking his son. After this was as this was happening, others stood up, shambling towards Pops. He had a choice to make. Should he grab a shotgun and defend himself and possibly help his boy, hurting innocent people in the process, or go back to the back and hunker down? Before he could make the choice, it was made for him. His boy stopped screaming, laying there, still and not breathing. Pops ran to the back, barricading the door. After what felt like an eternity, he heard police sirens. The officers could be heard shouting at the patrons. Soon enough, he heard gunshots. Then, it was absolutely quiet. Pops slowly exited the back to see his son's body lying there, and the bodies of the few patrons that had not drunk the pumpkin spice lattes. He exited the shop and was shocked to find that the officers were dead. They had killed some of the patrons that attacked them. Unsure of what to do, he went searching for anyone that may still be alive. The town looked abandoned. Pops did not want to call them zombies, but they shambled around and ate people. What else could he call them? He finally came to the church. It was an old stone building that would make for a great shelter. He knocked on the door but received no answer. So he opened the door, and there stood the man, the pastor. Oh, thank God, Pastor, you're still alive. However, as he drew closer, he noticed that the pastor had turned. The pastor attacked him, and Pops killed him. The situation and the grief overwhelmed him as he heard the horde approaching. So, as his last action, he cocked the shotgun and made his death swift. And that is the end.
Good evening, children. I am known in this realm as Miss Creepyth. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I bring you Out with a Bang, written by Miss. I have decided to kill myself. I think it's important someone understands why, so I'm writing this before I blow my head off. The first time I remember it happening, I was 9. Johnny Weller and I were playing in his backyard. The sun was setting over his back fence, warm oranges and reds shining through bone-white slats like a creamsicle against pearly white teeth. Johnny was the cowboy, and I was the dirty redskin stealing his horse. We ran around the swing set, him laughing and me whooping and threatening to scalp him. When he tripped, I ran to where he laid in the dirt, scooping up a handful of air, pointing my finger at his nose and proclaimed, "I got your gun now! Bang!" Johnny's head exploded, in a tremendous blossom of crimson blood, slate gray brain, and chips of skull that sparkled in the setting sun. My hand fell to my side, and I stared open-mouthed, unable to understand what had just happened. Someone was screaming. At first I thought it must be Johnny's mother, until she tore open the back door, and I realized I was the one screaming. Johnny's mother crumpled against her son's headless body, adding her broken sobs to my horrified cries. Johnny's funeral was the next week, closed casket. I forgot the sparkling light shimmering across the cloud of Johnny's blood. I forgot Johnny's mother ragdolling my little body, begging me to tell her what had happened to her son. I forgot the sheriff telling my mother Johnny was hit by a falling bullet, one of 26 cases each year. I forgot my father's quiet talks with my mother about how they never found the round that splattered Johnny's smile across the grass. I adjusted, I coped, and I forgot. I didn't forget the next time it happened. I never played Cowboys and Indians again. In fact, I can't remember a single instance of any shooting game played by children anywhere in my childhood. I do remember the little girl in the park, pop, 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 popping her little Nerf balls as she bounced around. She ran up to me, brandishing the weapon and shouting, "Hands up!" I smiled and complied, dropping the sandwich in mock terror. I lifted my hands to the sky and petitioned for mercy. A true homicidal maniac in the making, she executed me with a flurry of staccato pop, pop, pops. I dutifully played dead, sprawling across my bench. She giggled and proclaimed, "Your turn! Shoot me!" A sudden sensation of discomfort slithered up my spine. I thought of flowers, glittering crimson roses, wet with morning dew. She eyed me impatiently, apparently convinced she might have to nerf me once more to provoke a response. I lifted my finger weakly, pointed at her, and whispered, "Bang." This time, I wasn't the one screaming. Her mother cradled her baby's dismembered limbs, frantically clutching an arm, then a leg. I had pointed my finger at the little girl's belly button. The moment the word left my lips, she ruptured like a water balloon filled with punch and soaking bits of crimson-colored fruit. Johnny Weller's decapitated body filled my vision, the slow red of a sunset sliding down the front of his striped shirt. I ran. I can't do this anymore. I got pissed at Laura yesterday and put my finger in her face to tell her off. I didn't even say it. I couldn't bring myself to sop my girlfriend's brains off the kitchen floor. I can't do this anymore. All I have to do is put my finger against my temple and say it. But at least I'll go out with a bang. Thank you.
And I believe, as usual, that is going to do it for this installment of the Midnight Society VR. However, similar to the last two times that we've done this at HorrorCon VR, we do have a reasonable amount of time for anyone to come up and ask any of us questions about our stories or ourselves. So please, if you would like to do so, keep the questions orderly and safe for Twitch, but please feel free to ask. I will open up the Q&A voice for anyone to come forward. Please.
Good job, everybody on the panel.
You too.
Yes, everyone did wonderful.
Yes, great job, guys.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we all did.
Any questions anyone wants to ask? Please, feel free. Don't be shy. All right, if no one has questions, that's okay. Glad that everyone was still able to enjoy the stories. That is the main point of these. I want to thank everybody for attending and everybody for participating in Midnight Society VR number 3, especially the Creepy Clown Girl.
Yes. Good try.
Very
Good,
glad you could
not
make it.
try, but good job, Cece.
Thank you.
Yes, we could get another round of
hitting my
applause for
arm.
CCG here. She really put her best effort into this, and she did great, I think. No, I know she
I
did
have to
great.
look
Yeah,
down because
exactly.
I can't clap my hands.
Absolutely.
Hands. I have to hold the V button.
Yeah, CCG amazes me every time.
With that, I think that is going to do it for Midnight Society VR number 3. Now for the outro, of course. This has been me, as usual, Midnight Researcher, conducting the event. The participants were the amazing Creepy Clown Girl, and Filia Noctis, PA Nightmares, CreepsSpaghett, and Miss Creepyth. Thanks to HorrorCon VR for hosting the first 3 installments of Midnight Society VR. Please be sure to check out the rest of the convention. There is still some time left for everybody to go enjoy themselves. And I believe there is going to be a closing panel in a few hours, if not the hour right after this one. This has been Midnight Researcher with all assembled here. And I bid you all a very good night.